I am so honored to bring you this special guest today. Tiffany Gormley is somebody I have known for years, and I have loved following her journey. You're in for a treat today. She is a breathwork facilitator, somatic healer, self-study guide, wellness speaker. She considers herself to be a lover of life and led by the Holy Spirit. You're going to love this interview today. Tiffany believes that everything you need to live the life you want, everything you need to be the person you want to be is already inside of you. We align so much in that way, which is why I loved having her on this podcast today. She believes you just need help accessing what is already inside of you. You need help stripping away the layers of suffering, struggle, anxiety, and stress. And you need to learn how to connect with your body on a deeper level and create a felt sense of safety, peace, and well being that is already within you. She is going to help you access that. I'm so glad to have her today. And as a special promotion to my Health Revolution podcast listeners, if you mention episode 16, she is going to give you a free second session, 75-minute session for free. What a gift and blessing to have her on our show today. Here is my interview with Tiffany Gormley.
Good to
Hey,
see
welcome
you.
to episode 16 of the Health Revolution podcast. We're talking today about breathe, heal, rise, spiritual journeys through breathwork. I am so excited to introduce our guest today, Tiffany Gormley, that is an expert in breathwork. I was just talking to Tiffany before we started recording that we talk often about breathing and how it can help our stress, especially chronic stress. My number one episode, Tiffany, is about chronic stress and what we can do to manage it. And I just thought, who better to be on the podcast than Tiffany? So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be able to come and just talk about what I love. So it's really just a joy and a gift. So thank you for having me. I'm excited to
Oh,
share.
yeah, it's our pleasure for sure. I have known Tiffany for a little while. She was a dental hygienist for my husband's company for quite a few years, and just the best. And just knowing her through that time has been incredible. Watching her journey and catching up with her regularly about all that she's been through is so much. You're going to share that with us today a little bit, as much as you're comfortable with anyway. But can you share a little bit about your journey and how you discovered breath work as a tool for the healing and the spiritual growth that you've come to experience in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it has been a journey. And I think that is the journey that we're all on, is that evolution of our soul and of our spirit, and, making that progression as we move through the different seasons of life. It never ends. There is no finish line. There's just the next chapter, is what I've come to really know. But being a dental hygienist really played such a pivotal role for me personally in my spiritual journey. So it's really that moment and choice when I got into dental hygiene school that one of the instructors, she was a meditation teacher, and she incorporated meditation in our program. And so at the time, young unhealed Tiff was like, what is this? Why are you making me breathe during my dental hygiene school? Just teach me how to clean teeth. Don't don't try to bait me with extra credit to come to your meditation class before school starts. And so it's funny the way that God, who is really who I believe is the great orchestrator of my life, is really at hand when you can't really see it, because that was 8-9 years ago before I could ever even see.
Planting a seed in
Exactly.
you. Yeah, you weren't quite ready for it
Mm-hmm,
then, but
mm-hmm.
you're able to come back to it later.
Yes. And at the time when I was doing it, it was, I would sit in those meditation classes during school, and it was like, is this over yet? I'm just here for my extra credit. I want to make sure that my GPA looks perfect on my resume when I graduate. And so it was like all of those chatters, all of those voices, they were always super, super active. And so it was just then that it was like I enjoyed it and I liked it, and I just kept going back because of extra credit, but there was also something there that connected me to all of those different parts and those different voices and just kind of really made me curious. And then once I started practicing, I love dentistry, but it is a very hard career on your body. It is a very physical career path. And I started having, within 2 years of working full time, really bad sciatica problems and really bad hip
Mm.
pain. And so, from sitting every day, from being bent over every day, so that really forced me to start to look for different movement, for different, solutions because I was in pain. And, it's funny how sometimes it takes being in pain to be the driving factor. We can't just
Yes.
do it on our own. We have to let it be the pain that actually drives us into searching for something different.
I think that is the same with not just our physical health, but our emotional, mental health as well. When we're praying for patience, we don't just get it. We actually have to go through an experience to develop patience. And I think the
Mhm.
same with your physical body, like make this pain go away. And you have to actually go through a process to heal your body and make that proactive step.
Exactly, absolutely, I couldn't agree more. We have to awaken not only the physical, but the mental and the emotional, and then there's that spiritual, energetic side that comes to fruition afterwards once we've had that awareness. But when we're kind of living in that autopilot, or you're just kind of going through the motions of what we're told life should be, we're in a very conditioned program from the time that we start school through into our adulthood. So the idea for most people is that we go to school, we get a degree, we work the 9 to 5, and then we have the family, and then we do the kids, and then the next thing we know, we're 65, and where did life go? And so there was a moment when I was in hygiene school that I had the opportunity to go to the Dominican Republic, and that trip was a service trip for dentistry, and it just opened my eyes personally to how big the world was, to all of the possibility. And there was always a seed that got planted in that trip that I knew I wanted more for my life than just being in that autopilot schedule, and wanted to have more freedom, more flexibility, more time for myself. And so when I found yoga, I fell in love with the practice, and I immediately wanted to get certified and started to kind of go in that journey of getting certified. I have 200-hour yoga certifications. And at the time, that was perfect for where I was because my body didn't enjoy the stillness of meditation. And so having an active form of meditation where I was breathing, moving, and connecting to my body and the sensations in my body was a very somatic practice, which is really what breath work is soma just means body. And so when we're doing a somatic practice, it just means that we're doing a body practice or a body-based practice. And so connecting into the body, is body holds a story. All of our emotions, all of our memories, it's in our tissues. And so at the time I really didn't understand what I was doing and how I was moving through different emotional wounding from just my personal life. At the time I was married for a short period to somebody who had addiction issues, and our marriage didn't survive through that period. And so movement, yoga, connecting to myself, going on that journey of self-love and self-discovery was really what pulled me forward and moved me forward. And God just really has guided my steps on that journey. And it was after
Wow.
my second training of breathwork or of yoga teacher training that I was introduced to a form of somatic experiencing therapy, which is kind of where I got more connected to breathwork and just a form of therapy called internal family systems, which is parts work. And so there's a really great book called No Bad Parts that I would recommend everybody read. It's the creator of the methodology. It's really just about those different parts of our subconscious that are the emotional wounds that can hijack our minds. And so it's been a great tool for me. But ironically, the breathwork training that I did, that I found in February after my second training, it was a foundational breathwork program that used parts work and integration of the somatic body and somatic experiencing practices. And so it was a very full circle moment because I had just discovered that in my journey. And then, boom, here is a training and a certification that takes you even deeper into that and, takes you even further. So
Right.
it, it was very timely. There are no accidents. And so
Yes.
it was just another moment where I was like, okay, I see you,
This is
God.
meant to be.
I can see
Yeah.
that. I see your guidance. I see where you're taking me. And it really took me until the last probably year and a half of my life to really have that full acceptance of God, of who my creator was, and that that connection that I had to him, and really being able to name it as God. And so it's one of those that it took me almost 7 years of being on a spiritual journey before I could identify with that higher power and that creator and that connection to spirit that I always felt as God. And
Yeah.
that being able to move through that wounding of that term, because God is such a polarizing term that for a long time in my spiritual journey, I knew I was connected to a creator, to a source, to that higher, functioning and that divine intelligence. But
Right.
God just, from my own unhealed wounds, just did not like resonate at the time. And
Yeah.
so
And
it,
spirituality means different things to different people, and means different things to those people at different times too. And so
mhm,
it's been so interesting, being a friend of yours and connecting with you at different points in your spiritual journey that you've been on. And I remember, in just like you said, the last year and a half, where we would meet and you were like, God is everywhere. God loves us. Like, he wants this for us. And it was just like this transformative. And I could tell like things were changing in you. I mean, you could just tell with your spirit radiating and just the things you were saying. And I was like, wow, this girl is like onto something right now. She's like discovering her journey in this really inspirational way. Because Tiffany, a lot of people, I think, have similar experiences in their life, but it doesn't always lead them to like find God or to heal themselves. And tell us how, like, how did you take that step to like acknowledging that this is what you need to do with your life?
So, really, I think that once you kind of have that relationship with yourself, before I could ever have a relationship to something beyond myself, I needed to know myself. And so that was really that foundation of that journey to getting to know myself and what my needs were, and really getting clear in what I believed, what I valued, and not just taking what I had been told I believed or what I told I was a value
Yeah,
to heart, and to really go through the process of taking that time to identify those things for myself. And
yeah,
so once I was able to do that, I was really in a place where then I wanted to have a understanding of what was beyond me, because I did have that connection to that divine intelligence. And so when I asked that divine intelligence to identify itself, to make itself known to me, and to really bring me home to the truth of what is the truth, and really was my prayer, was what is true, what is the
yeah.
truth, where, like, reveal it to me. Really, I just asked, because I really believe that the words we speak, the declarations we make, really are instructions out into the energetic universe, because we live in this giant web that's quantum energy that's continually
Mhm.
flowing. Everything
All
has
around us.
a frequency, exactly. And so
Mhm.
everything is responding to everything. And so when you can really accept that you are a spiritual being inside a physical body, and you're not just a body with living out this experience, and you really understand that there's that spirit that is connected to something beyond, and is, that divine connection that we have that's inside of us. And that's really what I started to learn, is that the more that I poured and asked for that relationship and for that intimacy, the more God revealed himself to me, and the more
Wow,
that he supported me, and the more that he showed up in my life, to the point where it was undeniable. And
that's
so,
beautiful.
it was that knowing of where it comes from and that source, because I was clear in who I was and what I stood for, so that when God really made that knowing to me, that I could trust what it was.
I love that. So you spent, it sounds like, a lot of time just getting to know you first before you were looking for that outside source. But once you were able to have this self discovery and self awareness and give yourself that love as well, then you're able to connect on a deeper level with a higher power and with the universe. I remember talking to you, I think it was at a wedding, and you were talking about energy, and I had just started learning about energy as well, and I was like, you know about energy? And you're like, yeah, it's like all over. And I'm like, yeah, it totally is. And so I was like, let's talk about energy, because not a lot of people have really been reading about it. When you're talking about quantum energy, it's all around us, and how it works. I'm like, that's another podcast episode, because we're really supposed to be talking about breath work today. But like, I love it, and it just, we've got to do another podcast about that, because I love studying about that, and I love that you touched
Totally.
on that.
And breath work is energy work.
Okay, yeah, that's
Breath
fine.
work, that's, it's they're so simultaneous, they're so weaved together. And that's really what, when I found breath work and when I really was taught how to do breath activation and how to bring breath into the body and to use it as a tool to help my body process the emotion and how to regulate the nervous system, it was just, I knew that that was what I was meant here to do, and was meant
Yeah.
to bring here to bring people home to themselves, because that's really what the breath does, is it drops you out of that thinking mind and brings you fully into the body, so that the body can go through whatever it needs to. Every journey is different, every experience is different, because it's based on what it is. Where are you feeling a void, and how is that breath work filling that void of energy, so that that channel of energy that we have inside of us can just free flow and be clear. We hear about that flow
Mm,
state. We
yes,
hear that people talk about flow state all the
in
time,
yoga.
and yoga, in the
Mhm. Tai
Marines, and
Chi.
in Navy SEALs, they even know
Mm,
about flow state. And they understand that when you're in a place where you are fully embodied and you are fully in that embodied awareness, and you have that connection to mind, body, soul, that you have power that you're moving from. You're not moving from a thinking mind, you're moving from a soul place and a soul knowing that takes you into wherever you're meant to. And you're always in that place of being exactly where you're supposed to be, because you're
yeah.
following that instruction that's flowing through you, instead of questioning the knowing and negotiating and telling yourself why it's not supposed to be there. You have that trust in the body and you trust in yourself to say, when I know, I know. And you can make that decision to move forward confidently.
That can be kind of a scary place for a lot of people, to be looking inward that much. Did you find
Hmm.
that that was a problem for you or for the people that you coach?
Yeah, so it's really important. That's where, with breath work, that you really make sure that you are working with somebody who is trained and who has a trauma informed background. So the training that
Mm,
I did was a 6-month trauma informed training, and really gave us a lot of the tools on how to support people and how to integrate what comes up during a session, because we're tapping into those dormant memories and those energetic bodies within ourselves that are frozen or in a flight or fight response, and really learning how to bring safety and regulation back to the body, so that the body systems are in a place of homeostasis. And so breath work can be used for so many different reasons. It's spiritual practice, but it's also a physical practice to move the lymph through your body. It removes the toxins, it's moving the digestive system. So it's really awakening and activating a lot of different systems beyond just physical, spiritual, and mental.
wow, I did not know that it can be like a lymphatic draining for your
Mhm.
body.
Yes. So anything that we're doing with stretching, breathing, those are what's helping move the lymphatic system, because it doesn't have its own pump. And so we're
Right.
responsible for being that one. But yeah, the breath work is great for the lymph system, and especially the breath kind of conscious, continual, activated breathing, which is what I teach.
Yeah. And so, just for the listeners that don't know about like the lymphatic system and why you would want that drained. Can you just um, shed some light on how that would benefit somebody's body and spirit?
Yeah. So the lymphatic system is really connected to your immune system. So if you have, if you get sick a lot, if you constantly feel like your digestive system is out of balance, the lymphatic system is actually what's responsible for pulling all of the toxins out of your cells and then releasing them through the waste of the body, sweat, all of those
Urine.
different things, urine,
Mhm.
all of those different things. And so if that system's not moving properly, then your body and your tissues is holding on to those toxins. And while this world is beautiful, it is also full of toxin. There's toxins in the air, there's toxins in the food that we eat, there's toxins across all basically platforms, plastic, anything that you are touching,
Right.
pretty much you're absorbing something into. So if your body's not filtering out what is not natural for us to be in the body, that's where malignancies, cancer, sickness, pneumonia can come through, is that your body's not detoxing the proper way. And so, you can stimulate the lymph system a lot of different ways. I have several different practices as far as dry brushing, stretching, breath work. There's lymphatic drainage massage that you can go and seek out from a professional, especially if you've got bigger nodules or you notice like in the groin area or in the neck that you have just some of those lumps. So
Mm,
they will help massage and stimulate,
push it through.
and push it through. So it's just, that's your body's just natural detox system. And if your body has all these toxins, then your cells are communicating with each other on a very cellular DNA mitochondria level. And
Mhm.
so we need to be feeding our mitochondria, which is the source of our energy, the ATP, if you go back to biology.
Ninth grade biology.
Ninth grade biology, we've all been
Yay.
there. But really, the more that science is progressing right now, is the more they're realizing that that mitochondrial energy, that cellular health is really the foundation, and having the blood
Mhm.
be healthy in the body is
Yes.
really how we long term, longevity wise, stay healthy and stay vibrant and stay thriving, rather than trying to survive or having to take all the medications or
Right. Yeah,
things like
there's so
that.
much more to life than just living. I mean, we want to not just like survive and be alive. We want to thrive, like you were
Mhm.
saying, and we want to heal our bodies. I mean, I think most of my listeners, the reason they're listening is because they are looking for healing. And there's so many ways to do it. Just like you said, there's so many ways to toxify our bodies. There's so many ways to heal and detoxify our bodies and purify our bodies, mind and spirit. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm not just talking about our physical body, but I think when you have there's that connection is so strong. So when you do this work, let's say you're doing yoga or you're doing a lymphatic drainage, how that connects back to your mental health, as you said,
Mhm.
releasing some of those emotions or experiences that we've had, and it connects to your spirit. Your spirit is so thankful that you're taking care of your body and your mind.
Yes, the spirit loves a pure vessel. The spirit loves having a pure body that it can just freely flow through, because everything is energy, and your fascial system, which is that connective tissue over your body, is actually a crystallized structure that's communicating constantly. So it goes from the top of your head all the way and touches every single fiber of your body. It touches every bone, it touches every muscle. If you think about when you're cutting a chicken and you have that stringy white stuff that you're pulling off when you're cutting chicken, that's the fascia. You have that all inside of you, but they're finding that it's actually a mineral structure. So if you've heard, we're from the clay, there's mud, there's a lot of symbolism in the fascia being this mud, this mineral structure that communicates. And, we really are from the earth, and
Mm,
really it is in our DNA. And that when that DNA is pure and it has been healed, because your DNA also holds your genetic code. And so you have to think of your field of energy around you. It actually goes about, they say, about 12 feet around you, behind you, front to you, to the side of you, that radiates from your heart center. And so when you start to see the toroidal energy field that we all have, which some people call their auras or things
mhm.
like that, that's your energetic body. And your energetic body will have that vibration. And it's like, do you want that vibration to be shaky and wobbly, or do you want that to just be a pure, constant present hum, so that you
Yeah.
can have that flow of energy flowing through you, and then having that God spirit energy flowing through you? And if there's kinks, or if there's blocks on a physical level, the gut brain axis is showing that the cells in your gut actually affect your mental health. And so you can have signs of schizophrenia, you can have signs of depression, anxiety, based on that gut biome being out of whack. And so the more that we heal the physical, the more the mental
Mm.
is at ease, and we
Mhm.
can be in the spiritual and the energetic body, and the energetic body is flowing and communicating, because everything in life itself is constantly giving and receiving and responding.
Right. I've always thought, like, this is so fascinating that we have specialists for specifically the body, and we don't address the other, like the mental and spiritual aspect of it, when it's all so connected. And
Mhm.
like you were saying, the more you take care of one, the more the other, we have access. Like sometimes we don't even have access to our spirituality if we're not taking care of our body and our
Un-
mind.
Unfortunately, no, because the mind and if the body's not functioning, then those intrusive thoughts, those protective parts, the subconscious mind will overcome the prefrontal cortex. And so you're really not thinking with your clear mind, you're thinking with the emotional mind. And the emotional mind is a feeling, it's not fact. And some people don't really like to hear that, because we live in a time and space and society where feel your feelings and be with your feelings. But the reality is that we want to honor the feeling, we want to hold space for the feeling, and we want to allow the feeling to move through us, knowing that that vibration is a temporary energy and it's not who we actually are. If we
Yeah,
identify with the emotion, if we think I'm anxious, then that I'm identifying as I'm an anxious person, and then I'm
right.
taking on those traits, rather than, no, I'm
And
experiencing anxiety. And
mhm,
being able to move from that place of saying, no, this is not who the truth of me, this is not the truth of my spirit. I'm having a moment. So how do I hold space with love, with compassion, with grace,
right.
instead of numbing, instead of getting, dissociating, or just avoidance is a huge
Yeah.
protective mechanism. Or,
Yeah, I teach
you
my
know
clients, like usually when we have feelings, unless you've learned how to manage your feelings, we usually avoid them, we repress them, we react
Mhm,
to them. You know, like
mhm,
if we're angry, we'll be reactionary that way, to like the people around us or whatever. And then we a lot of times I think you used the word, oh, I can't remember what you used, but I call it like buffering, where we're just like you start eating or drugs or Netflix or
mhm,
whatever because you don't want to feel that feeling. Avoidance, I think you're calling
mhm.
it, where you just like try and do something to not
Create
feel the
space.
feeling.
Yes,
Right. And
absolutely.
what the
Buffering is a great word. I love
answer,
that.
yeah, the answer really is to make time to feel the feeling, and you call it out. I am feeling anxiety. I'm feeling anxious right now. Why am I feeling anxious? How can I, love myself through this process and all of that? And the feelings are never a bad thing. We're human beings. We're not
Mhm.
robots or computers. Like we
God created us to feel.
yes.
He came to this, earth, so that he could feel and know what we were feeling, to have the
Yeah.
ability to see us and
Connect.
to know us and to understand us.
Mhm.
He loves us that much that he wanted to come and say, "Well, what are these feelings? Let me feel them." And he allowed himself to feel them, but never to become consumed or influenced by them. He stayed in that place of love and perfection, so that he was able to walk
Mhm.
and, be the sacrifice of my life that he was, and saved me from the depths and the mistakes that I've made. So I'm so grateful for that.
Oh, I
And
love that you share that so freely and you say it so beautifully. And I think that will help so many people to just
yeah,
hear what that message that you just shared. That's
yeah.
beautiful.
And that's really the what I love about breathwork, is that it gives you the power of choice. It brings you back into your power of your choice, because that's who God has revealed himself to be to me. But perhaps you have another energy that encounters you, and you get to
Mhm.
identify with that however
Mhm.
makes you feel connected and having that relationship. The title, the name
Doesn't
isn't
matter.
what, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's not what's
Yeah.
important. It's about the knowing and the presence and being able to connect with that most inner, deepest part of you that's connected to that source creator energy and the divine intelligence that flows through your being, because that energy of your spirit connects with the energy of your physical body. And when the body is attuned to receive the spirit, that's when the soul and the spirit can come together and you can be embodied and you can actually have that place. And so having the breath work to clear that channel and just bring back into that place of choice of what am I choosing? Is it real? Is it mine? I'm holding space for whatever this emotion is, and it's a closed container. It's safe. It's a place
Yeah.
for me to process. And those are the beautiful breathwork journeys that I really host people on, is we take them through that time, and it's a titration. Titration is so important in this work and in spirituality, of not taking yourself fully in. Some people love to do like medicine journeys or plant medicine, and plant medicine absolutely has a place and a time. And if you're not ready to go there, but you're forcing it's kind of like a shortcut almost. But
Right.
if we don't build up the resilience and the capacity in the physical body, then when all of that energy comes through, when all of the emotion comes through, the physical body will shut down. That
Mm.
it's just its protective response.
Mhm.
It will dissociate, it will go into another just fight, flight, or freeze, or you'll fawn, you know?
Yeah. And I've been talking to John about this because he just went to Costa Rica and experienced a lot of plant-based medicine and had a lot of like, I mean, probably the most spiritual experiences of his life. And he's like, I want to share this with everybody. And so we've been talking about this. And I said, I don't think everybody, like your 21-year-old self, wouldn't be ready to have that
Mhm,
experience in Costa Rica because you needed to go through the process, like go
mhm.
through all the pains and the recovery and the discovery. There's such a journey and process to life. And so now, and he's gone through so much personal development and coaching and counseling and therapies and yoga and all those things. And I mean, we've gone on this journey together, and now he's experiencing this plant-based medicine healing. But I think it's like there's a time and a place for that.
Absolutely, because what you're doing in those experiences is, we have to remember that there's energetic realms, and plant medicine manipulates the energetic realms. And so personally, I know that because I have an all-loving God of all presence, there's also the opposite, which means there's an enemy of my soul that is trying
Mm,
to distract me, that's trying to take me off of the mission that God designed me for, and is trying to pull me away, and will use any way form that they can. And the fallen realm has a lot more keys to the spiritual realm because they live in the spiritual realm. We're here, we come to this earth, we're blinded, and it's a journey of remembrance. We have to remember who
mm,
we really are. We have to go through, like you say, it's a hero's journey. We start at the bottom, we go to the top, and we hopefully at the end make it to the other side in victory of Valhalla,
yeah.
And if we're not being aware, and if we're not using discernment about the spaces that we're putting our energy body in,
Hmm.
we're consenting our spirit to attach to other energetic bodies that exist outside of just the divine intelligence that's streaming
It can be
through.
dangerous.
God wants to have that connection with you, which is
Yeah.
why that relationship, that intimacy is so important, however that looks for you. But so that you can discern, is this God? Is this spirit really guiding me? Or is this an inversion? Is this a deception
Mm,
that's wanting me to believe a part or a voice that's not actually the voice of God? Because I believe that God speaks to every single one of us. We all hear his voice. We live in that time of visions, of prophecy, of revelation. And so he is constantly making himself known. It's a matter of, are we doing the work of discernment, and are we keeping close to him in our spiritual practices? For me personally, reading my Bible and reading the Word of God and reading all spiritual texts, even ones that were canonized out of that, but you like
Mhm.
that give spiritual keys and spiritual truths. I
Yeah.
don't think, there's so many different perspectives, but you have to be able to read those texts and pull what is from God. And I think that the spirit that He's infused inside each and every one of us has that ability, but it is our free will and choice to connect.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. Like we have our usually like a book of scripture that we love to read and we go back to and is like our core. But there's so many beautiful books of scripture out there that have so much for us to glean from and to learn
Mhm.
from as well. Tiffany, can you tell us about breath work? Like if I'm a client of yours and I say, hey, I want to do breath work with you, like what does that look like? Do I go multiple sessions? How long are the sessions? What do we do? What exactly is it?
Yeah, so there's either an integrative type of breath work or there's meditative breath work. So integrative breath work is kind of like your relaxation techniques. People that are having maybe panic attacks,
Mm-hmm.
anxiety, there's techniques that we can do that are more short based or in the moment. How do we like attune to that energy and give you some practices so that you can make it through your day-to-day life? And it's really, what's your need, what's going on. But that's kind of a supplemental form of breath work and daily breath work that we can all incorporate into our lives as far as box breathing. That's the
Mm-hmm.
4 counts in, 4 count hold, 4 count pause, exhale, and then holding at the bottom. And that's a great tool to just begin to start connecting and bringing in breath awareness. Really what I do on a meditative breath journey is it's a more focused journey. It's designed with the intention of emotional release. And so we're using the breath, we're breathing in more oxygen, we're using it's more mouth patterns that breathe in so that we're over flooding the body with oxygen, and then we're creating a CO2 tolerance. And when we're creating that chemical shift is what's basically creating the homeostasis in the body. But that's why we experience such a variety of emotion. We can laugh, we can see, people will cry, they'll be sad, there's rage, people sometimes just need to
Mm-hmm.
yell or they just need to express. And so that's really what breathwork is doing, and that's what this meditative journey is doing, is it's creating this container for you to breathe for an extended period of time in a safe environment so that we can move through all of those different emotions and learn how to be with the arising instead of moving away and creating more of a buffer. We're teaching and training the system to move toward the discomfort, to move
Mm-hmm.
toward the challenge so that we can have more resiliency in the day-to-day life and
I
more
was
of
just
our.
going to say that word as you were describing
Mhm,
it. I said that sounds like it would create a very resilient human being if they know that they're capable of feeling feelings and they're not afraid. That's what keeps us back so much is we're afraid of the feelings we might feel and that we're not able to handle them. And imagine
mhm,
going through life knowing, I mean, having that type of self-confidence that no
mhm,
matter what happens, no matter what comes up,
mhm.
I'm going to have a feeling and I'm going to be okay.
Absolutely. It's one of them. It's freeing. That's true sovereignty. That's true freedom is when the mind no longer can take control and can hijack you from that knowing, hey, I might feel overwhelmed right now. I might feel like the world is crashing down, and I know what I need to do to come back to my center, to come back to that source, to
Mm.
feel that connection and then make a move. I can give myself the pause. I can take a pause and I can hold that space. And when I'm ready, I get to take the next step. It's such a empowering, it's really true empowerment because I can't empower you. I can only create the space for you to empower yourself.
Well, I love that. It's such a tool and a blessing that you're providing for people, but they have to do the work. They can't
Mm,
just, it's not a pill you can swallow. It's not a quick app that you can open on your phone. These are like real learning skills that
mhm.
you have to remember also
Yeah.
to apply. So it sounds like they come to you and they do this work, but then you're
Mhm,
also providing them a skill that when you're
mhm,
not there, that they can
mhm.
guide themselves through it and get through those times.
Yes. Yes, that's probably what really made me say, like, I know that this is for me and I know that this is like my path, is that it allowed it allows people to really get back in that driver's seat because you're your own healer. And once you know that you're the healer and that you are the one healing yourself, and it takes you being that for yourself, then you're free. You're no longer going back to, like, I love coaching. I love personal growth. I've been deep
Mhm.
in the work. I've paid so many different mentors and I've worked with so many different coaches to get to where I am. So having support, having accountability, that's why I love coaching so much, is it keeps you accountable on
Oh,
this
yeah.
journey,
Right.
because it's so easy to hide from ourselves. And so
Yes.
having somebody who says, I see what's possible for you and holds that vision for you is so powerful. And you have to hold that vision for yourself and learn the tools. And breathwork gives you that tool to be the leader of your life. And that's the world that I personally want to live in, is people who are leading themselves and choosing for themselves, and not just living on autopilot or following blindly, or too afraid to question a narrative, or
Mhm.
to stand for the truth of what is right or what's wrong.
Yeah. Tiffany, before we go, I always ask my guests, what is your why? You kind of shared it just now with us, but is there something else you want to say but about what is your why? Like what drives you to stay on this journey, not just for yourself, but to help others? I mean, you said you discovered yoga, then you want to be an instructor so you could help others. You discovered breath work, you wanted to be a breathwork coach so you could help others. Like, why do you continue to not just work on this for yourself, but to help others as well?
You know, I've really come to find that service is really the place where, when you're feeling at your worst, service is the best way to refill your cup, or to remember that whatever you're going through, you're not alone, that somebody else has it way worse off than you could, or whatever story you're telling yourself, that there's always somebody who is in need more than you. And to remember that is such a powerful thing. But really recently, last week, I was at a breathwork retreat. And when we were at that retreat, we were kind of doing like some masterminding and just some bigger um, level sessions. And one of the presenters really came with this idea of allowing us to settle into the energy of a future of a world where, what if half of the world and corporations in this world were owned by awakened, powerful leaders of
Mm,
women, men in their truth, in their power, no longer bound by the emotional wounding, and moving from that God given place of purpose, and really just taking a moment to just like breathe it in, because we're in an energetic world and there's energetic timelines that are constantly moving. And so it's a matter of like, what timeline are we choosing? And so if we really tap into the energetics, we can tap in to those different timelines. And so when we were sitting there, and as we just connected to that, and to that vision, and to that future of a world where people are living that life and are awakened, it was just such a reconnection, such a refiring, and a remembrance of why I'm here and what I'm here to do. And that part
mm,
of my calling is to help bring those people home. And that's what I do in those sessions, you know, and sometimes they're 45 minutes and sometimes they're 90 minutes, but it's what a person needs, and everything gets very customized, because if you're throwing a blanket prescription, that's not gonna
right.
really support people.
Yeah, and it sounds like you just want to create that future vision that you have of the world and one person at a time
Mhm.
healing on their healing journey like you once were and still
Yeah,
are. We all are, right? Um
absolutely.
Tiffany, where can people go to learn more about you, about breath work, and about the services that you provide? Do you do um, over Zoom, or does it have to be in person, or what can they do?
So it's both. So I do teach in-person classes right now every Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I'm really blessed to be able to be teaching in
And you're in
person
Idaho?
up in Idaho and Sandpoint. But you can
Okay.
also find me on Instagram and connect with me there to set up times to set up a session. My handle is Tiffany and Beyond,
We'll have
TIFF.
that in the show.
Yeah, in
We'll
the
have
show
that in the
notes.
show
Okay,
notes for
perfect.
everybody.
Um, and so they can find me on Instagram, but I also have my website, www.tiffanygormley.com, and I have a scheduling link there for breathwork sessions, because we can definitely do Zoom, and we can set up. I do private one-on-ones. I also do group sessions, and then I've also recently been doing some corporate breathwork for teams and companies, which has
Oh,
been
that's
really fun.
brilliant.
Yeah,
Wow. That would be amazing to have to work for a corporate office and have you come in and teach everybody and help heal the
yeah.
masses.
Yes, so exactly, and work is one of those places where people get so triggered, so if people can be at work
Oh,
and
yeah.
come back and be centered, then that's absolutely
Absolutely.
better
Wow,
for
what
bosses.
beautiful work you're doing. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing so many words of wisdom and your journey. And it takes so much to come from where you've been and share that journey with us and how you're healing and how you're helping to heal others. And you're just an incredible spirit and human. And thank you so much for coming on. I know that you're going to just help change the world.
Oh, thank you so much, Allison. I'm so blessed and so honored, and just love seeing you and John pursuing what you are, and just lives that you're helping, because I know you're touching just as many people. So I'm glad to
Oh,
be on the
back
mission
at
together.
you. Although I do miss seeing you here in Arizona and being a dental hygienist, but I'm so glad you're following your path and you seem so
Thank
happy
you.
and
Thank
radiate
you.
that beautiful face and your beautiful spirit. And it's just so good seeing you again. So thank you
Thank
again,
you.
Tiffany.
Thank
We'll
you so
see
much,
you.
Allison.
Yeah,
Take
we'll
care.
have you on another time. Okay, bye-bye.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
I hope you found value in what you heard today. If so, please follow us and go give us that 5-star rating. It really helps us reach more people that need to hear this message. Also, if you're ready to make changes to your health and well-being, go check out our Fat to Fuel program. Our coaching program empowers you to make healthy changes to your life one step at a time. Go to fattofuel.com or click the link in the show notes. We hope to see you there.